Hello, amazing entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 358, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/358. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you how to nail Facebook Live for business. We had this come in as a listener question, and I want to break it down in some really tangible, practical strategies so that you can make sure that live video content is doing its job in your business. Now, I will also say that given that most of this is based on social media biopsychology, meta algorithms, and viewer buyer behavior, this will also apply in most cases to Instagram Live as a strategy. But full disclosure from me, I've never once watched an Instagram Live, nor have I ever hosted an Instagram Live. So there may be some nuances that I don't cover. I'm going to focus mostly on Facebook, but a lot of this will apply. So let's dive on in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. Today's question came from the amazing parent coach, Jodie Thornton, and we'll make sure that we link over to her socials and how you can find out more about her with the show notes of today's episode. If you would like to ask me a question for the podcast, you can also do so at tashcorbin.com/question. I'll make sure that we have a link to that in the show notes today. So Jodie asked a question around what are the current tips and strategies for both pre-recorded and live content, video content on Facebook at the moment. And so I wanted to just quickly say, I always recommend a mixture of pre-recorded video and live video. But if it's one or nothing, right, it's you're going to be perfectionist about it and do nothing because you haven't got both. I'd rather you just do what you can do most easily. So if it's far easier for you to do pre-recorded video content for now and creating this hard and fast rule that you have to do a mix of both is going to stop you because you're not going to do it live stuff, then just do pre-recorded. Or if it's the other way around, you can't do the pre-recorded, but you can show up live from time to time, do the live. So a lot of this will apply to everything. But all I recommend when it comes to live versus pre-recorded is have a mix of both where possible. Do what is the easiest for you to do, and do that very consistently. Okay. So what are the tips and strategies that we need in order to nail Facebook Lives for your business? Well, number one is to recognize that Facebook Lives have different jobs to do. So it's not the same rules for every Facebook Live that you do. If we get clear on what job do we need this Facebook Live to do, then we can be far more strategic and effective with it doing that one job well. So if we break it down by your client attraction process, then we can be clear. Is this Facebook Live's job reach? Is this Facebook Live's job nurture? Is this Facebook Live's job lead generation? Or is this Facebook Live's job conversion, right? So even just breaking it down into those four parts of the client attraction process, I'm sure you can start to think, oh, I do things differently for reach compared to doing things for conversion. Now, the number one question I get asked when I talk about Facebook Lives doing their job is, can't I do all four with one Facebook Live? Well, yes, you can. You can do all four very poorly, or you can get each one doing one job very well. And guess which strategy is going to get you the fastest results? It's actually having one job per Facebook Live and doing that one job really effectively. The number two is then once we know what job we need it to do in your client attraction process, we can then clarify the key decisions about the strategy and the details of that Facebook Live. For example, how long should that video go for? Well, if the number one job of that Facebook Live is reach, i.e. it's going out to colder audiences, then the content needs to be much shorter. Because how much attention span will you get on Facebook for videos? How much attention span you've earned from the individual. So if you're doing a Facebook Live that's about for a cold audience, but when they click on it, it's 37 minutes long, Do they know you, like you, and trust you enough to give you 37 minutes of their time? Or are they going to go, oh, nah, and scroll on? So when you're clear on that job, you can then clarify strategic decisions such as the length of time that you're going to aim for. So for colder audiences, I'd be aiming for 3, 5, 7 minutes, right? Because that's about all you've been able to earn from those people at this point in time. For nurture, you could have long form video content nurture. So it's actually like a 30-minute masterclass on live. Or you could have short form nurture content where it's showing people behind the scenes. It's giving people short, sharp things that they can do, sharing your screen and people can follow along and do something along with you, right? So those sorts of things are clearer once you know what job that Facebook Live needs to do. So it can answer questions like, how long should it be? What's the topic going to be? Well, if the job of that Facebook Live is cold audience, reach type stuff and nurture, then it's more the outside of your messaging ecosystem. The topic needs to be more what they say they want, what they say the problem is, and then it's going to help to facilitate that light bulb so people can see what's going on underneath the surface. So even the topic is driven by what job you need it to do. If I want the job of the Facebook Live to be to get those final conversions into my takeoff program at the end of a launch, then the topic of the Facebook Live is simply going to be frequently asked questions about the takeoff program and 6 key reasons why you should join now, not later, right? It's all talking about directly at the takeoff program. Now, if I was doing that Facebook Live focused on reach as well as conversion, then I would not be speaking to the right audience, right? It's not going to go out to a cold audience because that audience doesn't know what the takeoff program is. They're not in the consideration stage of buying. They haven't heard from me before. So that then also allows me to take the pressure off trying to sell directly to strangers because I'm trying to skip all of the stages of the client attraction process and just to have an offer reach as many people as possible and people magically want to buy it. So remember, that's the exception, not the rule. We want to make sure that we're making those key decisions based on what job it needs to do. That then also lets you know about call to action. For most of my reach-based Facebook Lives, I don't have a call to action because if it has a call to action, it then, like especially towards the end of a Facebook Live, it's like, oh, they're doing this because they need me to X or they want me to Y, right? Instead, if it's for reach, I just want people to enjoy it, to get value from it and to share it. And so people are less likely to do that if it's me showing up with calls to action and being in business boss mode compared to me showing up and just giving them really helpful advice. Me showing up and just walking them through how to do something really simply and easily. Or me having a rant about what's wrong with some of the ways that we're taught to sell in the online business world, right? I don't have a call to action if it's colder audience most of the time. It would be 80-20 rule on that. But then for conversion, the call to action is come and join the takeoff program, or the call to action is send me an email and let me know about your business so we can make a decision whether it's the right fit or not, right? Or if it's a lead generation, that's going to be different again, right? The call to action might be send me a DM and tell me about your business idea and where you are focused on right now so that I can help you move forward and we can see if maybe working together might be a good idea, right? So it's less specific about the program and more about just getting the DMs. So that call to action will be different based on what job this Facebook Live needs to do. Similarly, whether you answer questions that are live or not. So whenever I'm doing reach-based Facebook Lives, I don't acknowledge the people who are there live because I'm only going to be there for a little minute. I want this to go to cold audiences, and cold audiences won't sit through me saying, because they don't know me, they won't sit through me saying, oh, hi, this person. Oh, hi, I haven't seen you for ages, this person, right? So if it's a reach Facebook Live, I do not do the live engagement. I need to just get in and out and do it as quickly as possible, whilst encouraging people to comment, but not distracting, reading those comments out or answering those questions. I will simply say, make sure if you've got any follow-up questions, you pop them in the comments below, or if you want me to send you the next training on it, just comment below, and I'll come back and I'll reply in writing, right? So I'm letting people know if they do show up live, because I do get good show up rates to my lives these days because I do them consistently. But I don't want them to feel completely ignored, but I will let them know how I'm going to come back and reply to those people. Whereas if it's conversion, then I want people asking me questions about the takeoff program, and I want to answer those on that Facebook Live because other listeners are likely to have similar questions or benefit from or learn from the answer that I give. So yes, I absolutely would be asking questions. So you can see there, if you've got any detailed questions about the strategy on your Facebook Live, oh, should I warn people about it? Should I set it up as an event first? Should I do it on my page or in my Facebook group? The first question I would ask is, well, what job do you want it to do? And then when we're clear on what job we want it to do, then we make those decisions about those detailed strategies. Number 3, if you want to nail Facebook Live for business and have it consistently return on investment for your time, you need to do them often. And by often, I mean twice a week if you can, plus, right? Because we need to train the algorithm that our Facebook Lives are something our audience want. And the more regularly you do Facebook Lives, the more people who catch one click to be notified or watch the replays, click to be notified. The more trust you are building up with your audience, the more your audience, if they see they missed a live, they'll go and watch the replays. You need to create that proof and get that attention span, earn the attention span. And that comes from doing Facebook Lives often. Doing them more often will also mean you feel less pressure for them to do multiple jobs, and you can actually focus those lives on doing the job that they need to do and having one job that they do well. So do Facebook Lives as often as you can. I would say doing a daily Facebook Live is not too often, depending on the business type. And of course, you wouldn't do them all long. You wouldn't do them all the same format. There'd be a big mix up of what was going on. But given that Facebook Lives are still given a lot of algorithm preference and a lot of reach, it's an important strategy to really practice and get that nailed. Some people say to me, oh, I did a Facebook Live and I've got 150 followers on my page and it only reached 60 of them or something like that. I was like, that's almost 50% reach. When you do a post that's promo, do you get that level of reach? You don't, right? So, or if it's the first few Facebook Lives, you might not get a lot of reach because you weren't strategic in the way that you did it. You haven't earned the trust of your viewers yet. You can't earn that trust by avoiding doing Facebook Lives. You got to get out there and do them as often as possible. The 4th tip I have to nail Facebook Lives for business is that your copy that goes with the Facebook Live is critical. And the colder the audience you want to watch it, the more the copy is critical. Because we make a decision on whether we're going to watch the Facebook Live or not based on the first 4 seconds and reading the first couple of lines in the copy that goes with it. So if your copy just says, hooray for sunshine today, and there's no information of what you're talking about in that Facebook Live, only your most loyal fans and watchers will actually watch that. And those people are already likely to have bought something from you. So it's not going to be able to do its job if the copy doesn't make it abundantly clear why it would be valuable for them to watch that Facebook Live. So think about what's in it for the audience. It doesn't necessarily need to be like, watch this and I'll give you a free giveaway or there's a secret at the end. I don't like that stuff, right? Bribing people to watch your Facebook Lives. I don't like bribing people to watch your webinars. I don't like bribing people to watch your videos. I don't like bribing people to watch Facebook Lives because then I can't tell whether they're watching because my messaging has really nailed the value proposition or they're watching because they want to win that free thing or they want to get the giveaway at the end. And so I could be masking terrible messaging issues and value proposition challenges by having these giveaways or prizes or bribes. So when I say the copy is critical, it's not, telling people watch the end and blah, 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 or using any of that. It's actually just being really clear on, well, why would it be valuable for someone to watch this in terms of what they'll learn? And it doesn't have to be big, right? It could be something tiny. Most people look for micro solutions to micro problems, and they take less time to step back and look at some of the helicopter things. And so that's really helpful to understand about your audience because then you can be confident that doing those little helper things is going to get the viewership and is going to get the engagement. So have a think about what is the value, what is the reason that people are going to want to watch this Facebook Live. Make sure that that's very clear in your copy. Take all the sparkle and shine off it. Don't make it all fancy, right? Just be really clear on the value proposition. Be very clear on why this is something that would be valuable for people to invest their time in, because regardless of whether it's 3 minutes or 3 hours, it's still a time investment. Number 5, do you give notice and get people to book in them, right? So this is a very common question. And there are a lot of people who give hard and fast answers to this. And I think that that's a mistake as well, because the answer to this question actually goes back to your strategy decision, as well as where you're at in your stage of business. So when you're in the early stages of business, you'll probably be more likely to book in and say, I'm going live at 2 p.m. every Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. Get it in your calendar, right? I'd be more likely to do that because you want a higher percentage of your audience to come live, right? You really need that initial live momentum. And so therefore it's worthwhile booking that in. Now, as someone who doesn't like booking in anything that I don't have to, these days, because I have such good viewership, I have such a large audience, I prefer not to book it in, because if I book it in, then I definitely have to do that. And what if I don't feel like it? And I like to have a lot of flexibility around some of these things. So what I have is in my calendar, I have 2 Facebook Lives that I'm going to do during the week. And if I haven't done the first one by Wednesday, then I'll go and do it, right? And then if I haven't done the second one by midday Friday, I'll go and do it. And so I just try and do 2 a week, right? Rather than having them booked in and then having to show up and there's another appointment. I don't particularly love that, so I'll squeeze it in. Another thing for me is I feel like my paying clients, those people in the takeoff program or in my mastermind or whoever have actually paid for my time, they have paid to have that honor and privilege of knowing exactly when I'll be live. So I am far more likely to book that in, right? In the takeoff program, we have booked in calls and there's structure. And I'll also, if I'm doing Facebook Lives, I'll do some sporadically, but if I can, I'll book that in for them because they have paid to be in that program. And so they've paid to know those things and be able to catch more of that live. Whereas for my free audience, right, the audience that hasn't paid me, well, that's one of the advantages they don't get. They don't get to know in advance when I'm going to be live. They'll have to turn the notifications on and show up when they can. So it comes back to your strategy. It's also about the stage of business that you're in. But I would also say, feel free to experiment with both, giving notice and not giving notice. Because for some people, their niche or their audience actually desperately needs that notice. They're not on social media consistently enough. My audience scroll on socials all the time. And so I don't have to go through that process of giving notice. I only give notice in things like if they've signed up to a challenge, and I'll have the Facebook Live at the same time each week or each day of the week. Or if I'm doing a special, like I did a CEO week thing once, then people can know what time I'm going with what topic. But it's rare that I would give notice of Facebook Lives these days. And I find it means that more people have their notifications turned on because they want to catch them. And then the final piece of advice that I have around getting Facebook Lives working for your business and nailing that is to remember that engagement is the key, right? So, and there are ways that you can really dial up engagement from your very small viewership from the start to maximize the growth that you get from doing those Facebook Lives. And I find it fascinating how many people miss some of the real basics when it comes to getting engagement on Facebook Lives. So number 1, what are some things that you can get people to do most of the time on Facebook Lives so that it maximizes the number of comments you get from people? So some of the basics are, if you're joining me live, say hello, right? Or if you're watching on the replay, pop a little hashtag replay in the comments and I can come back and answer your questions. So I'm immediately giving people instructions within the first few seconds of watching my Facebook Live on how to engage. If they engage really quickly, it's telling the algorithm, oh, this is a hot one. If they engage really quickly, they're far more likely to stick around as well and listen. And so if you don't start your Facebook Lives with just a quick, this is what I'm talking about. If you're joining me live, say hello. If you're catching on replay, pop replay in the chat box or whatever. I do hashtag replay in the chat box. It's just really easy for me to then search through for the hashtag replays. And I tell people why, and I give them a reason to do it, right? I want to come back and answer questions. I look for who's watched on the replay. I'm not just getting you to do it because I want to keep you busy. And then it's also about, especially if you are getting quite good live viewership, asking people questions that are really easy for them to answer. Asking people questions and giving them a really good reason to ask those questions. So for me, if I say, okay, I'll use some of you as examples. Just give me in a couple of sentences, what do you do in your business? Or give me in one sentence, what's your business about? And so there's a benefit for people doing that. I'm incentivizing them to actually engage. Similarly, I might say, and if you're on the replay, you won't miss out. I'll do a couple on replay as well. So give me a couple of sentences about your business and what you most need help with messaging on, and I'll give you a couple of examples. Or tell me your niche and I will let you know if it's specific enough or too specific, right? So I'm giving them a reason. They're going to get something from me if they engage. And it's not, I'm bribing them to engage with, comment and I'll draw a winner, or, it's not resorting to that stuff over and over again too much. I definitely do prize draws on some of my lives and that kind of thing, but I'm not constantly bribing people. I'm refining my value proposition and my messaging so that I don't have to consistently bribe people to do things. The other thing for engagement is also that sharing as engagement or tagging others as engagement is like far more valuable than just comments or likes alone. And so creating content that's very shareable, giving instructions on how people might share this or why they might like to share this, but also giving them like more specifics around who to tag and why to tag others as well. So I'll often say, if you've got a biz bestie or a mastermind you're part of and you think that they should see this too because you want to talk about it together, feel free to tag them in the comments. Or when I do my Facebook Lives that relate to my 5-day challenges, I will encourage people to find biz buddies to work with in the challenge in that first Facebook Live. And then in subsequent Facebook Lives, I'm like, tag your buddies, tag your buddies, tag your buddies. So it's creating this snowball of engagement creates reach and reach creates engagement, engagement creates reach, and you're just creating this snowball. The other thing that I want to say around engagement being key is that the people most likely to engage with your Facebook Lives are your existing hot audience. And so a great strategy to create a good snowball of list growth and reach on Facebook Lives is to have them feed each other. What I mean by that is consistently in a portion of your Facebook Lives, have the call to action be to join your mailing list. Whether that be through an opt-in, freebie, lead magnet, something, or whether it's simply join my mailing list so that you can get my regular updates, or join my mailing list so that you can be notified when I'm going to be live next, or join my mailing list. Yeah, there's lots of reasons for people to be on your mailing list, but having say 50% of your Facebook Lives invite people onto your mailing list, and you test and work out what strategies work best to get people onto your mailing list. But then also get your mailing list watching your Facebook Lives. So if you do a particularly good one, make sure that you mention it in your newsletter and link over to it and tell people to come and comment. Or every now and then you might do a Facebook Live that has an incentive or a bonus or something associated with it. So you tell your mailing list audience to go and watch it, to go and enter, oh, P.S. I had a special offer to enter to win a one-to-one session with me in this Facebook Live. I just thought I'd let you know. All you have to do is go over and comment hashtag freebie, and I'll be drawing a winner at the end of the week, right? So those types of things where you're getting your mailing list over onto engaging on your socials and you're getting your socials onto your mailing list, they will actually snowball each other. They will support each other in a really good virtuous cycle. So thinking about ways, even if it, like, again, it doesn't always have to be bribing. It doesn't always have to be competitions. You need confidence that your content is so valuable and so good enough that your audience is hungry to hear about it. That's why they're on your list, right? So even just saying, if you've been struggling with X at the moment, I did a great Facebook Live about it yesterday. Here's the link to go and watch, right? Or I came up with a new model for 3 ways to XYZ. If you want to come and watch it, it's a 15-minute watch on Facebook Live. Here's the link, right? So what you're doing is maximizing the viewership and engagement of your on that Facebook Live through your warmest audience so that you can then snowball the engagement, snowball the reach, and they sustain each other. All right, so these have been my tips and strategies for you to nail your Facebook Lives and video content for your business. Hopefully that's answered your questions, Jody, and has enough detail. Any follow-up questions, just let me know. And what I've done is I've created a pinned pod post, PPP, in the Heart Centre group for this one, because I would love for any of your questions or any of those things you may have heard before about Facebook Lives or about live video content or about any kind of video content, please do come and share them with me and ask me so that I can provide further details. Because there are hundreds of things that people have been told over the years that they have to do in order to get those strategies working. And a lot of that is not true anymore. So if you go to tashcorbin.com/358, we'll have a link to the pinned pod post in the Heart Centre community. Or if you're watching this when it came out, it'll be in the pinned announcements now. So head on over to the Heart Centre group or the show notes and come and join the conversation there. And I'd love to hear from you, like if you've got follow-up questions to this or if you've heard things that you should do. So for example, like, hey Tash, I've heard that when you do Facebook Live, you should never have a link in the description. Or I've heard that when you do Facebook Live, you shouldn't do them from a streaming service. You should do them directly into Facebook. Or I've heard that, like, all of those sorts of things. Please do make sure that you come and share and ask me about them in the Heart Centre community, because I do really want to support you with maximizing the return on investment that you get for doing Facebook Lives, because, you know, it can be a bit time intensive, but the rewards can absolutely be amazing as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Heart Centre Business Podcast. Don't forget to go check out the show notes at tashcorbin.com/358. And until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.